What's going on, YouTube? JT Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my Monarch Legacy of Monsters reviews. This time I'm going to be talking about episode 5. This one is titled The Way Out, and this episode in particular was written by Amanda Overton and directed by Mirzi Almas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is the latest episode of the series. This is also the first episode with no real kaiju monster titan action, if you don't count like flashback stock footage that we've kind of seen already within the show. This is a more character focused episode. This takes place right after the events of the previous one, where our team in the present time period of 2015 was dealing with a Frostvark Titan, and they were taken away in that helicopter, and they went from there to a Monarch base in Alaska, I'm guessing. Yeah, so they went to this Monarch base, and that's kind of where the episode begins. So much like normal, we're going to go ahead and summarize what happens in the episode. I'll give my thoughts and any sort of nitpicks or criticism I have. But going to the episode overall, I'd say compared to episode 4, I think I may have liked this one in some ways a little bit more, because we get to see some of the fallout and like kind of exploring the ruins of a destroyed San Francisco, really kind of feeling the impact and aftermath of one of these Titan attacks, like how it's like the effects of it like a year or so later, and kind of the fallout of that situation. Now I really want to see where this show will go, like post, like if we get a second season of Monarch and it's post King of the Monsters, like just seeing how cities will be like that after the result, because San Francisco is pretty bad, but it's nothing compared to what happened to Boston and some of these other cities. So hopefully the show gets to that point, we can kind of explore those different angles. But anyways, much like normal, I'll quickly summarize what happens in the episode, and we'll go from there. So Monarch episode 5, it opens up with a team being interrogated by Monarch in this base that they've been in. We also had a sequence where Duval confronts May, and she also uses her sister, who we've established as someone off screen known as Lyra, as some sort of influence over her. So that kind of gets played into it like later on into the end of the episode with May. So most of the team, we have Kentaro, Kate, and May, who are given the chance to leave while Lee Shaw is left behind. Tim kind of wants to use them to kind of see where they end up going. Maybe it'll lead them to more of Bill Randa's files or Hiroshi or something. So he is really after those files, but Shaw also is kind of like after them a little bit too. Like there's some more mysterious stuff with the files. So while Shaw's kind of locked up there, the group decides to head to San Francisco to find out more about the truth about Hiroshi. May was hesitant at first, but then she ultimately agreed. We also kind of get this one cool sequence back like at the base where Lee Shaw is being kind of interrogated, if you will, by Verdugo about like Monarch and stuff. We also get this really cool shot where like they kind of project some like stock footage, if you will, and it kind of like merges like Wyatt and Kurt's face together, kind of like that earlier transition. This is our only bit of flashback kind of footage that we get of the younger groups, if you will. The next episode, we're going to kind of go back into the 50s and that. And I'm more excited about that because not having that flashback stuff, I've kind of missed them the last 2 episodes, but I understand the importance of kind of focusing on the current characters and seeing kind of where they're at and such. So like I said, Shaw kind of talks to Verdugo about how Monarch has pretty much done nothing of value. There's also some more references to his age, if you will, from Tim and also Duval. So clearly they're aware, like, shouldn't this guy be like, if he's 9 years old, why does he look like that? Which is something I've kind of theorized, like, they're definitely going to dive more into that. Maybe it was something with the Hollow Earth mission that has prolonged his aging, if you will. So it's definitely something I brought up earlier on. It's definitely kind of bringing more of a factor into things nowadays. So I'm really excited to kind of explore the mystery of like how that kind of came to be, if you will. So that's exciting stuff to me. So anyways, so May and them head back to San Francisco. They are then picked up by this guy named James, who is a friend of May's mom, who is known as Caroline. The more interesting, the exciting fact about this is they return to like where she's been at. You see how kind of lives in like almost like this FEMA camp, if you will, like not really like the most valued like places of living, but they haven't really left yet. And this is where Caroline, Kate's mom, learns the truth about Hiroshi. I did think it was kind of interesting kind of seeing the other side of things, because as you remember in the first episode, Kate goes and finds Kentaro and all that, and then they find out the truth that he had another family. Now we're kind of seeing the inverse of it and kind of getting the emotional reaction from Kate's mom in that, because like at first it was kind of like the screaming like panic at first when they were like, oh, I had a key and all that, and she's kind of like shocked by the whole situation. But now this time Kate has to kind of tell the news about the truth about her father. And we also find some interesting stuff about Kate in this episode as well, something that kind of like makes her more like her father than we initially thought, if you will. So like I said, they learn the truth of it, and from there they have to decide, okay, they got to get into San Francisco, but it's also like a quarantine zone, And so the group has to kind of sneak in with Caroline and James, if you will, kind of secretly, because they're like responsible for kind of retrieving people's belongings and kind of giving them back to them, because the area has been quarantined, if you will. So nobody's allowed in. They're shooting looters and that on site, if you will. So like I said, that's probably the coolest aspect of the episode, was seeing these like ruins of San Francisco in the aftermath of one of these attacks. Like it felt like a ghost town, like a post-apocalyptic area. So we also get to explore more of Kate's PTSD. She has a lot of panic attacks throughout the episode. We also learn that she was a school teacher. We also find out that she was, you know, in a relationship with another woman, which to me is not surprising given the hints of the previous episode. And also, she's a teacher and living in San Francisco. It's kind of to be expected. So we also find out that, much like her father, she was cheating on, I guess, her girlfriend, if you will. I kind of like that, like, reveal, because, like, she's mad at her dad, but she's kind of, like, doing the same thing, if you will. So that kind of adds more to her trauma and guilt in that, too. So I actually like that reveal, that she, like, in some ways is kind of taking after her dad in that way. So it'll make her kind of, like, in her eyes, more redemptive arc, all the more impactful. So I like kind of seeing that stuff about her. So anyway, so we got that stuff. Also, kind of, like, while this is going on, we have Shaw. He's kind of trapped, like, at that Monarch base with Verdugo, talking about the stuff, and he brings up an interesting point here, which I kind of like too. Like, he's kind of like, Monarch is broken and all that. Like, this Monarch somehow had the smartest people on the planet having 60 years to prepare for G-Day, and the best they could come up with is let them fight. Like, he brings up a great point. Like, what if Godzilla had lost? Monarch is wrong and needs to change. So I thought that was cool. There's also a nice -1 reference, if you will. So they have like the countdown, like they show kind of flashbacks to like before G-Day, like G-Day -2, and they also have G-Day -1 in there. So I thought that was a nice little touch. The part of the episode though that irritated me kind of the most though is when they sneak into this quarantine zone, and this is the part like that just I couldn't stand. So they're sneaking into this quarantine zone, and so Kentaro starts singing really loudly to kind of cheer up Kate. But this is a situation where they're supposed to be in like this stealthy situation, and they end up being found out about. Like, what the hell did you think was going to happen? Like, your mom told you that they were shooting trespassers and looters and stuff, but it annoyed me. It kind of made the character seem really dumb. I get he was trying to get to Kate and that and like kind of cheer her up, but you're singing really loudly. You already confronted some soldiers in that earlier on, tried to escape them. Like, why are you trying to like give away your position? It just seemed really dumb. Like, he could have found another way to kind of like do that. Maybe he accidentally like trips over something and knocks something over he didn't see. I don't know. Like, that stuff really kind of irritated me because it just makes the characters really stupid, and it just kind of annoyed me. But anyways, Kate also, like, when this stuff's going on, they kind of flee, and then they kind of go another angle where she experiences more PTSD stuff. Like I said, she talks about how she hates her dad for leaving, but is she any better for being a cheater? There's some really good acting, like, in this scene in particular, like showcasing the panic attacks, and there's a nice moment of May trying to help her get through it. From there, they go to Hiroshi's office and find out, like, some kind of clues to, like, where he's been going. Like, you saw Alaska, you saw another location, and then you also saw Africa. So they have more clues to, like, his next location. After that, they go home. Caroline talks to Kate. They have this nice little conversation. Like, I could have found out the truth many years ago, but she didn't. And then, in a mysterious kind of way, like, the episode ends with May kind of calling Duval, and it looks like she's going to betray the group in some way, and that's basically where the episode kind of ends. So there's some good character like moments within this episode, I think, particularly with Kate, with her PTSD, and also finding the reveal about how she's a lot more like her father than she like hopes to realize. Because like I said, she was kind of doing the cheating angle much like her dad, and I think that's like an interesting angle to kind of take things. And I like exploring the PTSD and the panic attacks. And like I said, Anna Sawai's acting in this episode is quite good, so we get some good moments in that regards. Although there's some kind of dumb moments in there that kind of take me out of it. Like I said, the moment where Kentaro's like, yeah, let me just start singing jingles. Like, yeah, that would be a nice moment, like in a different location. But when you're trying to sneak around, it just irritated the hell out of me. It just made them all look like really stupid. So like that's something that just annoyed me. This is another episode with very limited like Titan action as well. So I think that's going to take a lot of people out of it. And again, this is a show about Monarch, but you also kind of want to see some monster stuff too. And the last two episodes have been kind of like lacking in that department in terms of Titan action, unlike the first three episodes where we kind of felt like we got a little bit more. But again, you got to kind of judge it as like one big thing. This kind of moment we're kind of exploring the characters a little bit more. So I did like seeing the ruins of San Francisco and kind of seeing a little bit more of the fallout of that. It feels like we're kind of moving a little bit further in like, you know, the direction of things. Like I said, we had the one with Kate and her mom, which we kind of needed given like the stuff of like that happened in the first episode. We kind of get the inverse of that reveal, if you will. So there's some good stuff there. The character stuff was pretty good this episode. Just a few dumb moments, like I said, with the quarantine sneaking around and just shouting really loudly. Just it made them all look really dumb. But again, you're still kind of left like wanting a little bit more like Titan action or appearances. Like this is the first episode where it's just been solely all humans outside of a little bit of stock footage, so that could be a little bit of disappointing. I would have liked a little bit more of a moment too. But again, I think the next episode is going to kind of dive into that a little bit more. Hopefully we'll find out more answers about how like Lee Shaw's like age is being prolonged and stuff too. So there's some important stuff happened. May also looking to kind of betray the group will be kind of interesting because she's been kind of forming a bond with Kate, and you know obviously she's had a connection with Kentaro. So that'll be an interesting kind of reveal how that happens. And also I'm wondering how Lee Shaw is going to kind of jump back into the mix. He brings up some good points though about like how Monarch had 60 years to prepare for this stuff, and really unless they had Godzilla they would have been kind of screwed. So some exciting stuff there, and I guess that kind of leads into like future Monsterverse stuff with Mechagodzilla about how Monarch had all these had many years to prepare, but they were just like so ill-equipped, and the only thing that they had was their hope was Godzilla. And do you really want to rely on a giant monster, if you will? Maybe, maybe not. So, I mean, Serizawa is a firm believer in Godzilla, obviously. And we know Godzilla will be there to kind of take care of things, but he's also there to kind of keep people in check when they get kind of out of line. A lot of things worth exploring. I'm excited to see where the series kind of goes from here. Episodes 4 and 5 are probably my least favorite of the series so far. Not that they're bad or anything like that. I just kind of like the first 3 episodes a little bit more. Episode 3 is still my favorite, mostly because, like I said, Kurt Russell gets time to shine. Of course, he still has a few kind of funny lines in the episode and brings up some interesting points in that too. And he still has kind of like a mysteriousness to his character in that as well. So, but anyways, that's all I really have to say about episode 5 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. A pretty solid episode. Best aspects were exploring the fallout of San Francisco, kind of seeing the city like a year later and kind of like how the world was impacted by this stuff, and getting a little bit more of Kate's PTSD, the panic attack stuff, and finding out the reveal about how she is a lot like her father, like more than we'd realize. And of course, like kind of seeing the inverse of her experience of finding out like about Kentaro, and then like her mom is finding out about the truth about Hiroshi. So like that's all exciting stuff, and Hiroshi's still got to be alive somewhere. So when they interact with him again, seeing like a man who's like had 2 separate families this whole time but never told any about, like that's going to be a scene I can't wait to see explored. And of course Godzilla coming back, and there's obviously that scene in the trailer where he comes out of the dirt and that too, so maybe that's going to be them in Africa or whatnot. I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Next episode should be a little bit more fun. We're bringing back some of the flashback stuff with the younger versions of Shaw and Matt. I've really missed them the last 2 episodes because they really kind of helped made things a little bit more exciting. I feel like we got a lot of this important character stuff, like I said, some of the more slower building stuff within these 2 episodes. Now we can kind of jump back into some more exciting action bits and build more of the mystery of Monarch and what's really going on here. So, but anyways, that's all I really have to say about this episode. Post your comments down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, hit the bell for notifications, all the other fun stuff. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all later. Peace out.